Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. Each week, I'll be bringing you a self-care expert or a message to help you to discover how to live your best life and understand your mind-body connection. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let the Studio Chat begin. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Studio Chat podcast. Today, I would like to introduce my special guest that I have on today. I have followed this woman on Instagram ever since I moved to Australia, which is 6.5 years ago. And I have followed her ever since. And it's just been such a beautiful journey as an outsider to watch her. We're going to talk all about it today, but watch her journey. And that is why I've asked her to be on my podcast, because I think she is a beautiful person, but a beautiful role model, and is very authentic and honest and real. And in this industry these days, all of those things I've just explained, as much as people even post saying I'm authentic and I'm real and this is what I eat in a day, it's most of the time it's total bullshit. And that's why I've got you on here today, Hollie. So I really like to introduce you. Welcome to
Thank you.
Podcast. So can you please introduce yourself to my listeners? Just let them know like a little bit about you and what you do.
Hi guys, so I am the owner and director of the My Body by Hollie program, formerly known as Hollie and PT. So I started in this industry, I'm going to say 8-9 years ago now. I started as a competitor in the bodybuilding world. I competed I've done 4 shows, but over 4 years. I did 2 that were quite close together and then another 2. And I started off, being a competitor, and then I learnt the hard way what not to do very, very, very quickly. Had a lot of media exposure very early on in my career. And I made it my mission to prove that there was a better way, that you could get the results that you were wanting, provided that you changed a lot of your habits, changed a lot of your thought process, and got educated on how to do things. So after I went through, I'm going to say hell and back, I wanted to still persevere and still push through to prove that there was a better way, and to prove to a lot of mums and a lot of normal people that you didn't need to be a competitor to get into great shape. Like, whilst competing is cool, and I will always have a really soft spot for competing, I feel like once you've competed, you always want to do another show, or it's always going to be there. Like, it's a never-ending story, but you can live the lifestyle without being the competitor, and you can look great and feel great, provided that the habits are there and that the foundations are there.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think especially in this day of age with Instagram and stuff, people can see a lot of images really quickly of women's bodies and what, back in my day, not that old, but back in my day, it was not cool for women to train. You'd never see women in a gym or lifting weights, or heaven forbid, have a leg press that was stacked, or
aerobics. That was the way, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't a thing. And I'm really grateful. And you're breaking the trends in many ways. And I think you're showing a lot of women what they're capable of doing, but also it not ruling your life, but it being a part of your life. Yeah. And that's what I like, is every time you're jumping on a Instagram story and or anything like that, you're showing a lot of yourself. And so a lot of women can relate, which is really special, because I know that right now with TikTok and Instagram, you can easily jump on and people will quite happily tell you how much weight they've lost. It's very numbers related, how many macros or micros, or this is the best pre-workout, or even with no one that doesn't have any experience, and they want to like, I want to change my body, I don't feel comfortable, I want to get healthy. You can see how really quickly how overwhelming it can be for someone.
And it's so overwhelming. And even as a coach, it sometimes can come across very overwhelming because we know so much. And I've learned, especially the last 4 or 5 years, that yes, macros and numbers and calories are a huge part of the process. But for a lot of people, it's about creating those habits. They don't necessarily need to understand macros to begin with, but just making smarter swaps before you start overloading them with macros and counting their food. I feel like there's a big stigma attached to get results. Well, you've got to track your food and you've got to count macros. Yes, the science is energy in versus energy out, but you don't need to overload a client who doesn't even know what a macro or a calorie is, and by forcing them to count their food. There are so much better ways, and I feel like a lot of people get scared when they enter like wanting to do their journey with overloading information. Like, there needs to be coaches need to understand that people are people. Like, they're not a trainer like us. They don't have the knowledge that we have, and that it needs to be simplified and not overload the person to begin with.
Yeah, and a lifestyle too. So today we're going to talk about balance in the fitness industry, and that is going to kind of cover three pillars we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about balance in the fitness industry to do with nutrition, to do with training, and mindset. Because I think there's a lot of people out there that they're in two camps, right? They're in one where they are the old school chicken and broccoli, have no carbs, whatever their food rules are. And every coach is different. They have their own like secret sauce. So one group of people, one camp that sit over there that have all these rules, and it's like no carbs, or it's weighing everything, or it's chicken and broccoli, or no sauces, or whatever. Then you have another camp that's all about balance, that you can still drink in the weekends, have a cheat meal, whatever, and still get results. And I'd like you for us to just dive deep a little bit in these two sides, because you've got one side where people are very now know balance, and that word's kind of thrown around a lot, and they think if they can hit the piss every weekend, have a lot of food, I'm not going to count this weekend, or I'm not going to track, or I'm just going to have heaps of cheat meals and then start like Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
It's really not going to work. But then the other way, and I've been on the other way too, where it is a very strict diet to do whatever sport. Like, if you've got a goal, there's certain things that in my life I've been on strict plans and that as well, which really is not full of nutrients, and it skips a lot of food groups out, which can lead to binge eating, and can lead to making you feel like you're crazy, and almost as a woman making you feel like you're a pig, that you overeat. Like, I don't know where it's come from, but as women we need to eat like sparrow farts, and if we eat more than our husband or our boyfriend, whatever, like, I'm a healthy eater, always have been, always will be, but that's a whole nother thing. So anyway, I talk too much, but
that's all right. I think the word like health is thrown around a lot. Like, what is health to someone is like completely different to what is health to someone else. So like, I think that's a really like broad spectrum term as well.
Yeah. So you want to share a little bit about what you see with what you do with your clients and stuff, and with the balance that some people like, how do we get it when it comes to the food and the nutrition side of things?
So balance is very like client specific. And I think like you get like your younger early 20s girl who has got more time to train, has got more time to put into their food. And then you've got like your busy mom who's got a couple of kids, a household, maybe a husband, and is trying to do what she can to the best of her ability. Now, balance to her might be getting in 2 training sessions a week and ensuring that she's eating enough protein and vegetable to sustain her energy levels, or she might want to lose a bit of weight, so to make sure she's in a calorie deficit. Whereas balance to someone who's between like 20 and 30 might be, okay, they can commit to going to the gym 5 times a week, but they need to make that a lifestyle.
So it's interesting when we talk about balance as well, that what the media and what is advertised and marketed is different, I think, to what's real.
100%. So I think that, so when I first got into the fitness industry, it was a big, if it fits your macros. Now, the methodology does apply. However, I feel like with that concept, your version of health wasn't applied. So yes, if it fits your macros does work. It's proven that it does work. But then it comes to the point where, do you really want to track your food forever? Like, you need to apply the concepts that you've learned through understanding the baseline, and then taking a few of those key principles and putting them into your everyday life. Like, if you've been tracking your food for like 6-12 months, you have a pretty good idea of like what 100 grams of chicken looks like, what 100 grams of rice looks like. And it's very goal dependent at the end of the day. If you're happy where you are in life and you're happy with your training program, and there's a big difference between exercise and training, but that's another story. Yeah. But I think you need to get to a point where you only track your food maybe like once a month or once every couple of months if you're happy to maintain. But the concept of balance, I feel like, especially when alcohol is involved, you can't expect to binge drink all weekend and then restrict yourself during the week and call that balance. Unfortunately, I feel like there is a bit of a lifestyle mentality with that. And because I can get you balance is thrown around so much in the fitness industry. And yes, whilst you can, and you can definitely make a couple of drinks like fit here and there. It just comes down to, do you value your health, and do you value how well you're training, and do you value what alcohol does to you really? Like, I train a lot of young girls, I train a lot of young moms as well. And the ones that party all weekend, every weekend, sometimes think that they can starve themselves during the week and still get results, when theoretically, in some cases, yes, but what it's doing to their inside and doing to their mental health, it's a whole nother case. And I feel like people need to really understand that balance is hard.
Yeah.
Like, you can get where you want to be, but it is going to require some sacrifice. Like, you're not going to look the way that you want to look and feel the way that you want to feel without sacrificing something. And it's hard. Like, I don't wake up every single day at 5 a.m. wanting to go to the gym, but I feel like people need to make this a part of who they are and make it a lifestyle rather than just a 12-week program.
Thank you for talking about that, because with any form of program, it's interesting. And, I'll be interested to know if you find this too with your clients. But when people sign up for a 6-week, 8-week, 12-week lifestyle change, it's the words that people use. Okay, oh, cool, I'm going to do this really hard, and then I'll have the pizza at 12 weeks. Or I'll do this for 12 weeks, and then I'm going to go get really sloshed. Or I'm going to eat everything I can. And I'm saying this because I've been that person.
Oh, so have I, 100%.
So if anyone's listening to this, don't worry. I know what it's like, but it's that's also a thing when you talk about balance is commitment and it's priorities in life, but also something that you start now kind of needs to be in your lifestyle for a long time. It's not to scare anyone.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be like a strict regimen of eating like chicken and broccoli 5 times a week for the rest of your life. Like, when I say balance is hard, it's knowing when to pull forward and when to pull back, like learning like when it is okay to incorporate some of your favorite meals. And I don't like the term cheat meal because it creates like good foods and bad foods. And I believe there is just food. Like, there's a lot more health benefits of some food than others, but there is no reason why if you're out on the weekend with your friends and you want to have that pasta, that you can have that pasta and it's not a cheat meal. It's just because you wanted it and you enjoyed it. And there shouldn't be negative thoughts or negative connotations around that feeling.
Yeah, you've had a very busy 12 months.
Very busy. Yeah.
I don't know in that 12 months if you've bought your house and stuff, but I know you've got married, just had your wedding and had your honeymoon, and then you've had, so congratulations too.
Thanks.
You're a married woman now.
I feel like the wedding actually taught me a lot though, the wedding prep. It taught me a lot, probably more than any other preparation I've done over the past 8 years. It actually really it proved to me that I can do this without killing myself, number one. Number two, you can still have fun with your friends on weekend and not completely eliminate everything. But it also taught me that once it was over, I didn't feel the need to completely binge or go completely overboard. I feel like because it was hard. I'm not going to say it was easy, but because what I implemented, I didn't restrict myself too much. It led me to not go completely overboard the other way when it was finished. It definitely was a lifestyle, and definitely, obviously once it finished, a lot of people saw my Instagram stories. I had a lot of other events on, but it definitely taught me to implement it more as a lifestyle rather than I'm just going to get shredded for my wedding. I didn't want the yo-yo effect anymore.
Yeah. How did you do that? What do you think was different this time doing?
I focused a lot more on strength training. Whilst I've been a strength trainer for years and years and years, I had a really big focus on improving some of my main lifts. So whilst I had that goal of, I think for a wedding is different to a bodybuilding competition because you're in clothes, number one. Number two, I didn't have a set number in mind. I just wanted to A, fit my dress and B, feel really good.
Yeah.
But I had this massive goal of hitting over 100, I think it was 105 kilo by 5 squat. I just was fixated with it. I became more obsessed than hitting squat numbers than what I did with the wedding prep. And I feel like it was so funny. Like, I became obsessed. All I wanted to do was squat all the time. And I think that was because I had previous injuries and it was always a lift that I was scared of and nervous of. And I decided that I wanted to get a really good strength coach, someone who'd been watching in the industry for a long time. And it really changed my perception on exercising versus training. Like, I don't just go to the gym anymore to burn calories and to sweat a bit. I go to train and I go to get a specific outcome. And I feel like girls need to change their mentality of, I don't know, I don't love F45. Like, they just burn lots of calories and there's no structure to it. I don't like, let's just go and exercise and beat ourselves up. Like, that shouldn't be the mentality.
Yeah, I'm not a fan just because form is a big thing for me.
And 100%.
Yeah, I'm not a trainer, but just with me personally, I find that when you have the correct form, it feels good and you get better results and you don't injure yourself. And yeah.
I 100%. And anyone who trains with me knows I am fanatic about form. I am like the form Nazi, I suppose you say. Like, all my online clients send me all the videos they can so I can give them forward feedback. This is huge. Yeah. And that's when it comes down to exercise versus training, because you're training to achieve a specific outcome. And I think there needs to be a huge shift to that. And when I first started training, we didn't have Apple Watches and all these things that everyone has now. We didn't track that.
We didn't even count the steps. I don't know about you.
No idea. We did nothing of that. And whilst I love an Apple Watch to making sure I move more, I hate the mentality of let's see how many calories we can burn.
Yeah.
Like, people become fixated on the wrong things. How about we become fixated on, okay, let's try and fix my form from last week and let's try and lift a kilo heavier than last week.
Yeah, I'm a numbers person where I don't own scales in the house anymore. Ever since I got off stage, I haven't really weighed myself because I know, even though I'm at my heaviest, those numbers screw with my head. I'm naturally very heavy anyway. Even at my leanest, I'm heavier than most women. So I know back then, I try not to track my steps or anything just because personally with my mentality, numbers screw my mindset, where if I go for time, I'm going to do a half an hour walk today, quite brisk, or I'm going to do an hour movement today. And if I still measuring it, but if I do it like that, that makes it easier. So I want someone that's listening to this, if there's someone that perhaps are like me, have had a history of body image and diet and a lot of binge eating and stuff, and numbers really play with, and like clothing sizes and weighing yourself and weighing food and like, you know what I mean? That's all.
Yeah, 100%. And it can become all a bit too much. And it all comes down to your mindset around your body image, your numbers. Do you have any like emotion related to the number on the scales of food? It just comes down to what type of person you are. And that's why personalized programming is so important, because the way you train one person is going to be completely different to the way you train another. Like, I have one girl who she does really well with numbers. Like, she likes to track her weight in the gym. She likes to track her food, and she's got no sort of like emotional attachment to that. But then I have other girls who will weigh themselves 3 or 4 times a day, who will weigh every single like broccoli stalk, but then on the weekend could go the completely other way and drink all weekend or eat rubbish all weekend. So it becomes down to what sort of person you are and what's going to work for you. And the ones that are so numbers focused and who can't handle it, you need to remove that. And you need to implement different habits to get them where they want to be. It's not going to be as fast, and you're not going to promise instant results, but you need to change that person's mentality from fixating on it to making it, again, a lifestyle. Like, find them something they do enjoy. Okay, you might not like lifting weights. Let's do kickboxing. Let's do boxing. Let's do something to get your body moving so you feel better and to create a better relationship with your health.
Mm. So what I'm hearing is that balance is different for everybody.
Everyone, completely different for everyone.
Yeah.
And what people think I'm crazy, but for me, that is balance. Like, it's my lifestyle, but it's what I want to be your lifestyle. And you have to want it, and you have to work out what is your why.
What is, can I ask you, what is your why?
This is the big question, because after I hit my squat, I had my wedding, I was lost. And one thing that I promised to myself was, okay, I'm feeling lost. This is a very unknown feeling for me because I'm very structured and very regimented, but it's probably a feeling that I haven't felt for a long time because I've been so fight or flight. So I went back to my routine. I went back to what I want to do. And I think my why is because this is my lifestyle. This is who I am. And you don't have to have a date for things. You don't have to have an event. You can just do it for you and do it because you like the way that it makes you feel. And my why is to get stronger and to get better and to continuously work on my relationship with food and get better so that I can show to my clients that there is different methodology for things. It's taken me a long time to work that out.
That's what I love about you. You're a great role model because I know it hasn't always been the case for you. So I know, like right now, how do you feel in your body and mentally?
I feel okay. I'm not going to say I feel really strong and I feel happy with like my gym routine. I made some big changes last year because I did feel like I was burning out. So I feel good in that sense. I feel like because it's taken me a while to work out what I'm doing, I don't really love alcohol. So I was like, alcohol affects my mentality a lot. I feel like when I drink, it makes me like quite depressed. So I said, all right, party season's over. I'm not going to drink for a few weeks. I just need to get my sleep back. I'm back at work. I feel like sometimes I substitute that with food. And instead of, because I am so on the go, I kind of fell into a habit of not being so prepared and so organized. And I realized this is something a lot of people struggle with. And it's okay to struggle. It's okay to realize, okay, what's my downfall? What am I doing wrong? What's the cause of this? And you need to get to the cause before you can fix anything. And it was just, I'm tired, I wasn't organized, and I needed to replace one habit with another. So my mission at the moment is I'm doing my own nutrition at the moment as well, which is something I haven't done for a long time. And it's to implement different habits so I can feel the way that I want to feel. And it will only take a few weeks. So that's where I'm at the moment.
I love that. I love that. And even just simple things like if we don't get a good night's sleep,
oh, yeah.
right away, well, most people, I can't speak for everyone, will crave something shitty or something sweet.
Oh, 100%. This is something I was talking to a lot of my clients about last week. So when I go through their check-ins, I analyze everything. I don't just look at their weight and their photos. I look at, did you sleep? Because people do not understand. A lot of people think that if you don't sleep, that's how you gain weight. When it's not the actual lack of sleep that makes you gain weight, it's what happens to your body through hormonal changes when you don't sleep.
Yeah.
So when you don't sleep, you're obviously energy deprived. When you're energy deprived, what do you want? You want quick energy. So when you're sleep deprived, you're more prone to making poor choices. Think quick, easy, accessible food. Takeout, chocolate, lollies, chips, something that's quick and easy that's going to give you energy. So when you're sleep deprived, your chances of making better choices are lowered. And the more you don't sleep, the higher it's going to get. And you're in a fight against your body to try and make it happen. So people really underestimate how much sleep affects you.
Yeah, and I think it's important because a lot of people, we're all kind of built negatively. So a lot of women will negatively start off, I don't like my body, or, and have a turbulent relationship with food. It's kind of a common thing, and I want to normalize that.
Huge thing. And because I'm in the online coaching world now, I make everyone pretty accessible to me. I never wanted to be one of those coaches that you hear me once a week and that's it. I talk to my team all the time. And the relationship that females, I'm not going to say just females, but a lot of men do as well, is so poor. And the choices and the yo-yoing, there needs to be a huge culture shift in this industry that tackles those problems, because the more I talk to my girls, the deeper that we get. And it's really sad to see, but you can fix it, but you've got to want to put in the groundwork though.
Mm-hmm. And it takes time. What's one of the most common things? Obviously, we're going to make sure from your clients, it's the privacy we're not going to share any personal details. But if I was to ask you, in general, with what you see with your clients, what would be one common thing that you see with a relationship with food?
That they're trying to restrict everything. They're trying to be perfect. And when they're not perfect, they derail. And I feel like I try, because I'm a qualified nutritionist as well. I give meal plans and macros. But when I give a meal plan, it's just there for structure and guidance. It's never there for you have to eat this food at this time. You have to eat this vegetable. And something that is so common is they will freak out if it's not exactly what's on their plan, and then feel like it's okay to derail because it wasn't what's on their plan. And that's where balance comes in. Okay, you might have on your meal plan, it might be lean mince, pasta and red sauce. So there was no lean mince that day. What do you do? And it's that mentality where it's all in or nothing that
Yeah.
needs to stop. And there is a big stigma attached to that. And that's when people need to learn and be educated around nutrition. I wish it was in schools, like nutrition education, because, and you can't blame someone for not being educated on things because they just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And that's not that person's fault. Like,
yeah, but I think it's all circled around nutrition and body image and relationships. So somewhere along the line, a lot of us may not be in a healthy relationship, and that can be with our parents. It can be with people at primary school. Like, you always remember something that when you were 7, a kid came up to you and said something. Like, you don't forget words. It can be
100%, yeah.
a girlfriend at high school. It can be you're engaged once to someone, you were married someone. Like, all of us carry some form of relationships, and that can lead into food, and that can really not understanding nutrition. And same with me. I'm a nutritionist as well, but it's more to do with whole foods and along the lines of food as medicine. And because I was quite interested in that, I knew nothing about that side of things. Like, I knew about nutrition from a sport point of view, but not really. Like, it was kind of all or nothing mentality, old school. And then I just wanted to educate myself on, I was really interested in like the Indian medicine of Ayurveda, with this particular herb can help with this. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. And so I was kind of going down all these rabbit holes. And so from what I know of my knowledge, I'm confused. And to this day, I still see, I mean, it's like when we talk about media and stuff, this whole industry makes so much money out of people hating themselves, people trying to be in bodies that they'll never be in bodies. Also, what is right to eat? 1 week tomatoes are great, the next minute tomatoes are bad. 1 week coffee's good, 1 week coffee's bad.
Yeah.
How do we get around all that, Hollie?
It just comes down to moderation. And I have never been a big advocate of like quick fix diets, cutting carbs out, keto. If you look at the science, it all comes back down to energy in versus energy out and how you want to go about it.
Yeah.
And how you want to go about it comes down to client specific, what their goals are, what their needs are, who they are as a person as well, and what their lifestyle factors are. And it's like, I always get asked, is like, especially by certain clients, like, what if I eliminate this or eliminate that or start taking this supplement or that supplement? I have worked in the supplement industry for years and years and years. I know what works and what doesn't work. And at the end of the day, it is absolutely everything in moderation. And you need to work out the ground rule. You need the basics first. Like, you need to learn how to fuel your body, eat enough protein, eat enough fruit and vegetables and carbohydrates. And I feel like the fitness industry, there's always something going on that's going to be better than what we knew yesterday. Like, there's always going to be something else. But I also feel like social media has blown up people's expectations of what you should look like.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Like, it's because half the time, no offense to people that are vulnerable enough to share their lives on social media. I know that's not an easy thing to do, but there is another side to it where the photos that you see could not be real, or someone may share with you what they eat on a plate, but like, really? Is it really what they do?
And that's just one day though. Like,
exactly. But also, do we know, like, we all have things going on behind the scenes. Some of us may have health issues on certain types of medications. It could be our environment. That's not talked about enough, is it? About
no, 100%. Environment is such a big one for people. Like, such a big one. Like, I feel like your environment can almost make or break you. Like, if you're the type of person that is trying to get into a rhythm and trying to get into a routine, your environment needs to support that. But you need to make it as easy as you can for yourself. But also, you need to make it okay that you're not going to be perfect every day. And that every week by week, it's a learning process. You want to aim to get better, not perfect. Like, a lot of people are all in or nothing. And that is something I've struggled with personally, and something that I've broken down massively over a few years. And I've always been a chocolate girl forever. I've always been a chocolate girl. Look, if it's in the house, it's going to get eaten. So for me personally, I just can't have that stuff in my house when I've got a specific goal. I might have, like, me and Carl might share like a block on the weekend, but some people, they just can't have it. And I feel like a lot of people think that, oh, you've got a problem with food because you can't have that in the house. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. You just want to set up your environment for the best case, for the best scenario possible. And if it helps you that you don't have crap in your house, you don't have soft drink, lollies, chips, And that's going to make it easier for you. But it's about replacing something with another thing. So if you find and I find food habits and binge eating and a lot of those problems come down to habits. It's not your motivation. And I worked as a psychologist for a really long time on how to understand what was happening to me. And it literally came down to A, deprivation, because I was dieting for so long. My brain needed the nutrients. And B, I had created habits. So I needed to rewire them.
Mm.
And a lot of people don't understand that you need to put yourself in an environment that's going to benefit you, not restrict you, but benefit what you're wanting to achieve.
And reflect the goals and the lifestyle that you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing that with us, because you've just shown that you've gone the full circle with your nutrition and your exercise and your mindset to see a psychologist, and that you shared that it wasn't an overnight fix. These things do take time, and they are hard, and they can be a bit boring, but you're a beautiful example, Hollie, of someone that had that fire in your belly and you didn't want to give up. Like, you knew that there was more. And I want to share with people how you really know what you're talking about is, so I started following you, I think it was around 2017, but I know around about 2018 you were in the cover of a very well-known fitness magazine called Oxygen magazine, and you're a fitness model on there, looking absolutely you look incredible all the time. But that was, what a beautiful a goal that you would have had, and that you were on this cover. And then I'd love, because this is part of your story, and I think it will help other women to know that you're human and normal, because I'm sure a lot of women look at you right now and be like, oh, what would you know, Hollie? Look at you, you're fit, you're
and I get
muscles.
angry.
Yeah.
I can't, even in a bad mood. It's like, oh God, if you knew my husband, he cops it all. Like, I am not a happy, energetic person all the time, and I struggle more than what people probably realize.
Yeah, but I think people could easily look at you and go, oh, it comes easy to you, the nutrition, the exercise, because you're fit and you live this lifestyle. But I'd love for you to share a little bit about, so you're on the cover of this magazine, you got all this media attention, and you were in that bodybuilding fitness model world. How did life change from that to now where you are at? So just so other people can relate to, to know what you've been through.
So I worked so hard to achieve this goal, but I'm a very structured and regimented person. Especially 8 years ago, if you told me to something, I would do it, and I would do it to the T. And that's why I can see so much of myself in my clients, because I'm I've been that person. I know what you're thinking. And I would message my coach and be like, can I have lemon juice? Can I have salt and pepper? And looking back at that, I'm like, oh my gosh, Hollie, if only you knew. But back then, that kind of was the only bodybuilding way. If it fit your macros is only just coming out. But it was a very strict chicken, broccoli, maybe some Greek yogurt diet for 9 months. And I looked amazing. And I felt tired, but I felt pretty good too. But I've always been a bit of a big and structured girl. My nickname for my grandfather was Keg Legs back when I was a kid. I've never been a really skinny girl. It's not genetically, it's just not the way that I've been built. Anyway, I did get real. I was 53 kilos. I was minuscule. I had all this stuff happen. It was awesome, but I did not know what to do. I knew that I couldn't keep up what I was doing, and I started to spiral the other way. I went from being so regimented in my food to being, okay, I'm going to stick to my meal plan, then I'm going to eat absolutely everything I can get my hands on. I'm going to stick to my meal plan, and I'm going to eat everything that I can get my hands on. And I just didn't know how to break this barrier or break this vicious routine that I was getting in. But I also didn't have the support around me. I had a fallout with the coach that I was with at the time. I just thought that I would have to compete again to get back where I wanted to be. So tried to put myself through another comp prep, and I failed something severe. I did halfway, and then I was like, I can't do this to myself. I was living a lie. I was trying to put out this persona that I was this amazing fitness model, that I could stick to my diet and stick to my training regime, where every 3 or 4 days I was hiding in my car eating blocks of chocolate and trying to work it off, and then thinking, what the hell is wrong with me? So I took a big step back for a few years, actually put myself through PT school. And then I've always fallen back into the habit of training. Like I have always loved training, but I needed to stop training for trying to burn off food or trying to burn off what I'd eaten. I needed to train for a specific outcome. So I actually got into powerlifting for a little bit, and that honestly, that saved me for a while. I became fixated with hitting squat and deadlift numbers rather than trying to work out like how much I was eating. But I still always had that underlying issue where I would try and restrict myself and binge, but it wasn't as bad as what it previously had been. I mean, I went from being 53 kilos to 65, 70 within a few months.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I did the whole powerlifting prep thing. I loved it. And then I thought, you know what? I'm in a good enough headspace now. I'm going to try and compete again. Lo and behold, you really should not try and put yourself through a restrictive diet until you fix any sort of underlying food issue that you may have. You need to learn how to eat for health, eat with structure, and eat to essentially like love yourself and give you the best fighting chance rather than trying to restrict yourself. Because if you don't have the ground rules done, if you don't have those initial habits, you're never going to survive. So anyway, I actually managed to compete. I got up on stage. I could have looked a hell of a lot better, but I was still trying to train ridiculously and then binge. So I finished that prep, and that was probably the worst rebound I've ever been through. I met a very toxic person at the time, which didn't help my cause, and I just couldn't work out what was wrong with me. I was like, I've got a binge eating disorder, like something's not right with me. I've got mental health issues. When a fact of the matter was, and I saw a psychologist and she was unbelievable. I had been trying to starve myself for so long. It was just my brain's way of forcing food into me. But then it became this habit. It became this habit that every time I drove home from work, I would stop and get 2 blocks of chocolate. Yeah. And the more times you do something, the stronger a habit's going to become. And that's why I'm so passionate about changing people's habits, because that is the root cause of so many problems. But to change a habit, you essentially need to replace it. So I wasn't allowed to compete for a long time. I didn't want to compete for a long time. I needed to work out who I was in the industry and what I wanted to do. So after working that out about myself and really understanding that psychology aspect of food, because you can give someone a diet plan, but if they can't stick to it, why can't they stick to it? Like there needs to be an underlying issue, and you need to work out that client's underlying issue and then work through those. Once you work through the whys of things, then you're going to get fantastic results. But if you're just hounding a client, like, why can't you see this? What's wrong with you? Like, you should have worked harder. That's not going to get you anywhere, and that's not going to get the client.
Yeah,
and I feel like,
yeah,
yeah.
And a few of my coaches is, they don't mean to, but back in the day, it's just like, gosh, you eat a lot, Barbara. You just have to be hungry all the time.
Yeah, and you got to have compassion for people, but you also need to learn when someone needs a bit of a stern talking to. There's a fine line between a coach and a client, and you can be their friend. There's got to be a fine line between when to pull someone back and when to push them forward and be motivating. Like, you know what, there's an underlying issue here. How can we fix this? So there's a big issue with that. And I found with me, once I worked out what was going on and why it was going on, and that I just couldn't diet for a long time. It wasn't until then, and I went back, I was like, you know what? I want to study nutrition properly. I want to know the science behind things. And because I was so fixated on training and exercise, I wanted to learn how to fuel that properly. I wanted to learn like the real sport specific of bodybuilding, of sport, of like marathon runners, of like team sports. I wanted to know the ins and outs of that. So that's why I became really, really, really obsessed with teaching people how to strength train properly, because then I would be able to fuel them properly for that. And if they could get both to work hand in hand, that's when you would get the best results, provided their mentality was there.
Yeah.
So after I went back and studied that, I then decided that was going to be my mission. That was what I wanted to teach people. I wanted to teach people how to get strong, how to break their bad habits, why their habits were there to begin with, and that there was another way. It wouldn't necessarily be a quick fix, but if you were wanting to put in the work, that there was another way, and that you wouldn't need me forever. Like I do have a 12-week program, and it is fantastic, but essentially it's like the initial 12 weeks of you starting a journey. How do you even start it? What do you need to learn? How do you get into the gym? And then it builds from there. So I think people need to stop the all in or nothing and understand, like, I've been in this industry for 10 years. I was the binge eating bodybuilder for a long time, and I didn't know how to fix it. And people struggle so much with binge eating. I feel like I have a lot of family history with that as well. I won't go into depth with it today, but binge eating is one of those like taboo topics that girls are super embarrassed to talk about.
Yeah.
We need to work out why you're doing it. I had to work out why I was doing it. I was trying to fill a void that I didn't know was happening, and then it became a bad habit.
Mm.
And habits can be broken. Habits can always be broken, and you can always find another way.
Yeah, and same with me too. I think because I was always a real lean kid, but always got told that I was a big girl when I actually wasn't. And looking back, I've been doing a lot of work on myself lately, reflecting of when did my binge eating start? I think it was when my parents were really rocky. And it's just interesting when you go back to when you're 7 or 8 years old. And binge eating is so interesting because when you are a binge eater or when you have been a binge eater, when you eat, your mind is switched off when you're somewhere else, and that gives you the capacity to eat. I ate a lot of food, like in one sitting, especially after comp. Oh my God, I would eat and it wouldn't even feel like it would touch the sides. Like I was so empty that I'd eat packets and packets of chips and hot chips. It was all junk and big blocks of chocolate. And I want to normalize it. If you're a woman, doesn't mean that you're a pig or that you're not supposed to eat amount. Like we're human beings. And it
happens more frequently than what people realize.
Yeah, as human beings, we need to eat to survive. I don't know. You don't live off the smell of an oily rag. And if you do,
and you're exact. And that is the hardest thing. That's what psychologists taught me is it's not like alcohol or drugs where you can remove the problem.
Yes.
You have to eat, and you cannot remove food when you need to eat to survive. And it's people don't actually realize when you have been a binge eater. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm going to put that out there. I've worked very closely with one for a long time, but trying to remove something that you need is harder than what we think. It's so much harder. It's about literally rewiring your brain.
Yeah. And when you do binge eat, it's for anyone listening, I just want to normalize that there is help out there and you can reach out, and it doesn't make you a bad person. And I want you to know there's so many women out there that can polish off quite a bit of food. And but when you're eating it, you're not in your body. You're not in that place. If anyone's listening to this right now and like say mine is like anything chocolate too. And if you open up a packet of chocolate biscuits, and I would always remember I could have the first 2 or 3. I get so excited. I'm like a little kid. It would make my day if I could have that. And I'd have the first 3 biscuits. Then I would go reach for another one. And there was none there. So what happened? And that you tune out, you go somewhere, you go into self-protection mode, you go into somewhere that your mind isn't connected to your body.
And it's trying to work out why that is happening to begin with. But I feel like females and food, it's a whole nother kettle of fish. Like everyone's got something. Yeah. And I feel like girls beat themselves up so much when I'm going to say like an episode happens or something happens, because it happens to all of us. I guarantee not one single person in the fitness industry is perfect all the time.
Yeah.
And I'll have clients that will message me like, you know what, I've had this incident happen. I'm so hard on myself. I put on 2.5 kilos, and you need to, you know what? It's okay that happens. Like you're human, but we need to work out why did it happen and how are you feeling at the time? And a lot of emotion comes down to food and binge eating, but there is a massive stigma attached to, oh, girls can't do that. Like it's not okay. Like you're disgusting. Like how could you do that in one sitting? Where it happens more often than not. And people need to ask for help when they need help. Like they shouldn't be embarrassed to ask for help.
I was just about to, actually, you just read my mind. There was something I was about to say is having someone like yourself, like a nutritionist and a personal trainer, and then someone possibly like me or someone that obviously I'm a professional counselor, but it's got to be the person too. So yes, it can be the title, but I really want people to, when I went to look for help with my mental health, it took me 4, 5, 6 goes to find someone that I liked.
100%. I will wholeheartedly agree with you on this. You have to gel with the person.
Yeah. So, and don't feel embarrassed if you don't. Just say, hey, look, this is not for me. And the right person will be like, that's okay, because I've got referrals that I can pass. So I have someone that I think would be best suited to you, Hollie. I'll refer them to you. And like that's how this stuff works. When you've got a good coach or someone that's in the industry that has been through it and knows what it's like, you want to help someone.
Exactly. And I will say to clients who I think are like, this is a little bit out of my scope of practice, I think that you may need some more support that I'm not able to give you because I don't have a degree in that field. but I can refer you to someone, because I feel like a lot of people are scared to ask for help and they don't like the stigma that's attached to a psychologist or a counselor.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is a shift with that happening. I feel like it's becoming more common back when I first started seeing it, which is great, but it is still something that people need to know that it's okay not to be okay sometimes.
Yeah, and I think our industries are a little bit similar, as in, I'd say the majority of my clients come and see me. They've had a mental health care plan for a long time, and mental health care plans are usually so I know people from New Zealand listen to this too. So in Australia, you've got to think of a mental health care plan, and psychologists take that. As counselors, we don't take that. But I've had a lot of clients that have said they've held on to that mental health care plan for a really long time, and they've seen me and watched me for a while. I know I can see them watching me, and they watch me for 3 months, 6 months, and I'll book in. And the cool thing about it is they're so nervous. They always like, I know I'm trained in this, but once upon a time I was a person going to see someone.
Yeah.
So nervous. And then afterwards, a common comment I get is, oh, they were still not nice. It's still not pleasant, but
yeah,
okay. So it's a normal thing I see it, and it stops a lot of people asking
100%.
Yeah.
I run a big female, it's called boot camp, but it's really not boot camp. Back in the day when I first started, it was like your very stereotypical army boot camp, but now it's like a female-only strength camp. And the ladies that I get that message me before going, I'm so nervous. I'm coming into a big group of girls. And I'm like, trust me, this is going to be the best decision you've made. We're all really accepting, but I remember being that person and being so nervous to go and see a coach. Like, you just don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to make that leap of change, to get help, to ask for help. And once you've made that conscious decision, then it gets easier. But if you don't gel with the person, you don't gel with the person. That's totally okay too.
Yeah, and just putting awareness out there that if you do try and get help and don't get a pleasant response, because that happened to me, that can happen. You can reach out to a coach or a psychologist or a counselor and not get a pleasant. We're all human.
Yeah.
Not get the response that you're looking for or that you need. I don't want that to stop you from getting help.
Exactly. And most psychologists will say that to you anyway. Well, a few that I've seen, like, if you don't gel with me, that's so fine. Go and find another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like when people give it a go, like, oh, I didn't like it, wasn't for me, and that's it for them. And like, they need to keep trying.
Yeah.
And it's hard mentally. Once you've made that decision, you want to do it, you didn't gel with the person. It's a bit of a step back. Like, I don't know what to do. Just never stop trying. Like, never stop trying to better yourself, and never stop trying to ask for help when you need it.
Yeah, and I think there's an element too in training and nutrition and mindset. If you do find the right person, there's a bit in there that is going to feel uncomfortable, that is going to be freaking hard, because you're changing habits. That's why when you look around, most people don't do the work. There's a lot of grumpy people out there, a lot of people that always have problems. We all have problems, but it's how we want to work on ourselves and better ourselves,
Agreed. And there's never a right time. Someone's always going to have something going on. There's always going to be something that's happening, and like, there's never a right time.
Yeah.
Like, there's never, make the call, book into the counselor, book that trainer you want to see. Like, there's always going to be something, but if that person cares about you, they'll be able to help you find a game plan.
Yeah, 100%. So I think as we wrap up this, just thank you for I think I've said it a couple of times, but I just want to thank you for actually coming onto my podcast, but speaking from your heart. I want people to know that you can come out the other end and live a life where you can have balance and eat food without beating yourself up. Lose weight. If you want to lose weight, fine. You want to be healthy, fine. You want to strength train and have muscles, that's okay. But to know that there's people out there that have been through the hard times and done the work, and you're a beautiful example and a role model, and someone that I would like anyone to reach out and ask for help from you, because you do online coaching. So
Thank you.
I have a lot of overseas people that listen to this. So are you obviously
anywhere, anytime? That is the perks and beauty of online coaching and my education platform.
Yeah, there you go. So if anyone wants to reach out to you and find out a bit more about your online coaching and stuff, how can they find you?
So my website, www.mybodybyhollie.com, or on Instagram, mybodybyhollie. So I'm very accessible. I'm not one of those coaches that will just leave you high and dry and never check my DMs. I am probably too accessible to people all the time. But either my website or my Instagram page, my email address is on my website too.
Yeah, and I noticed another thing. Not only did you get married and stuff and have a honeymoon, I noticed that you also rebranded your business not too long ago.
I actually did that whilst in the midst of my wedding prep. I
Oh,
did.
you did. And getting your numbers in the gym as well.
I love having a full plate. I have meltdowns, and that's why I struggled so much. You see, I was like, I've rebranded, I've got married. What do I do with myself now? But now it's all about my clients. Now is a really good chance for me to focus on getting them even better results because I've got the time and capacity to take on heaps more people, so which is awesome.
There you go, guys. So reach out to Hollie, and I'll put all her details in the show notes. But thank you for being a light for women, that you're showing women not to be afraid of weights. You're showing women not to be afraid of going into the gym, that our bodies change over our lifetime. Just because we've been an athlete doesn't mean we will always be an athlete, but you've pushed through hard times in life and you've educated yourself. And you're like, no, I want to learn more about training. No, I'm going to tackle this. I want to know more about nutrition. And now your gift is helping other women not have to suffer or go through it as long as what you did, and to give them like the shortcuts, right?
Learn from my mistakes is what I say to people. Learn from my mistakes. That's what I wanted to teach people is I've learned the hard way. I always learn the hard way with things, but you can learn from what I've done and I can teach you a better way. And there is always a way. There's no right or wrong way to go about things. Like what'll work for you won't necessarily work for someone else. And that is the beauty of personalized coaching.
I think the beauty about it too is you've been there, Hollie. So when someone says to you, look, I can't stop binge eating or I haven't stuck to my food plan, like you get it.
I try, yeah. And it's because I've been there. Like I know a lot of girls in the fitness industry have been super regimented and they might not necessarily get the emotional attachment behind food or why certain things are happening. But I get it. Like I've been there and I really feel for my passion is I love helping young mums as well, and mums in general, especially the older population as well. And I love helping them find consistency and routine and getting their confidence back and where they want to be. Like I'm 31 now, so a lot of my close friends are all moms, and I'm obsessed with getting their like goals on track and getting their confidence back. Especially you don't have to give everything to your kids, like you're you at the end of the day, which is really important too.
And from a counselling aspect, I see young mums too, and it's the more you can pour into yourself and feel better about yourself, the more time people takes a while to get this. The more you put into yourself and the more you feel comfortable in yourself and the more you care about yourself, not only will you have more time and more patience and more widspan around people, you also are a good role model for your kids looking up at you going, wow, mum takes care of herself. That's what it looks like to take care of yourself. Mum loves herself. And it's okay to put your needs first to be a better person. So people forget that not only are you, as a parent or a mum, give people more time and your health is more in check, but your little people always watching you and you're being a role model. And then also to your friends and family.
Yeah, exactly. Like my mum was very like that growing up. Like my dad traveled heaps and I was a kid, and my mum always made sure that her health was in check and that she had early onset osteoporosis, another major thing that happened to her as well. So she made sure that she did everything in her power to get her health on track. And that was really amazing to watch. Like if she could do that, why can't everyone else? So like she had 2 young kids, a husband that traveled. Like if you want to put your health first, you can. You just have to, it comes down to your priorities and making it work for you. And just the little things that will add up to.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been really, really great. And
thank you for having me and asking me.
Yeah.
I'm so nervous.
It's your first, you've done a podcast now, so you can add that to your list.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
My pleasure. Thanks, Hollie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you on your self-care journey. Please feel free to share this with a friend and subscribe over on Apple Podcast. I really love hearing your feedback. So guys, please feel free to write a review on Apple and let me know which part of this episode resonated with you the most. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about Self-Care Studio or the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, self_care_studio, or on my website, selfcarebybarbaraThompson.com.au. Really look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Look after you. And I'll catch you soon. Bye.